Style cabinet showroom. A little bit brief legend about like our company itself. So we've been on the market for 14 years. I know that seems short, but the company owner is actually third generation woodworker. So we have a lot of tradition that when it comes to manufacturing custom woodwork and cabinetry. We opened up this, I would say, unique space 3 years ago. To showcase what we can actually do. It is our original design, so we tried to mix some high gloss, some custom metal work, stone, walnut interiors, painted cabinets, all sorts of craftsmanship to show you the quality and what we can actually achieve within a custom woodworking world. So it's not only white shaker cabinetry, but some cool design features like polished nickel, curved elements, all sorts of things. With us, always sky is the limit.
Awesome. I am Filip Malyszko from Steve & Philip Design. We opened our firm about 10 years ago, and we do majority residential interiors, and we do kind of soft commercial as well, so kind of office spaces, but no cubicles. So in our task when New Style reached out was how to design with art and custom millwork and kind of how to combine these two elements together. And the genesis of the idea that we came up with was first selecting a piece of artwork, and then versus giving a very blank slate to the backgrounds, we decided to really infuse the design with the art and really create like a totality, like a holistic vision for the art and the built-in. So it's maybe a little bit more unique, a little different concept than what most people would do. But the beauty of working with a millworker like New Style is that very rarely do you hear no. It's usually yes, and how can we achieve that? And through the process, you guys will see all the capabilities that they have, and then also the wonderful inspiration that we got from Angie's piece of artwork.
Great. It's me? Yeah,
That's
thanks, Philip. It's a real honor to be here and to be selected to be in the presence of this amazing kitchen. My name's Angelina. You can call me Angie. This is my piece called Breakthrough. It's a celebration of human resilience. We all kind of go through something like a life quake, right, where you feel almost crippled by some sudden event that happens to you, and this is kind of celebrating your ability to break through that. You know, this woman is breaking through the hardness and the callous environment that she's in, and she is coming and she's exhibiting a grace and strength that she had never even imagined before. And so it's kind of apropos to be in the kitchen because having become a mom, giving up my career, I just feel like, there was a lot of challenges happening with that and kind of an identity crisis, and I think that it was resonating for me, at least in this kind of a context. I have a previous life in advertising and in international marketing. And 15 years or so of that, and then 7 years of it was specifically in real estate and commercial and residential. So I have a little hand in build-outs and space planning, and I have a degree in graphic design and journalism, which informs my process, which we'll talk about a little later. And then my formal training started when I was 11, and my teacher told my parents that I should have some kind of a formal art training, and they sure sent me somewhere, and it was a convent. Yeah, and it's a funny story, but honestly, it was the most phenomenal foundation for art that I could ever ask for, and it was probably university level. And so I still apply a lot of those principles that I learned at that young age to what I do now. So I think when you look at the whole aspect of this, and we talk about customization, I'm a little bit different in terms of how artists work. I'm very customer oriented. So I really want to understand what's in your mind, what is your vision, I really want to make things work. This is my third year here at this conference, and because I just want to understand the contextual component. I want to understand interiors because I think it all needs to work together, and so that's why I'm here, and I'm happy to be here presenting too.
Cool. So I thought I would kind of describe a little bit of our design process and how we kind of came up with the vision for this built-in. And so when Angie showed me kind of a mixture of her work, this was the painting that we selected, and I really responded to not only the texture that she had created in her technique, but also the vibrance of the purple. And I thought it would be really interesting to put the painting in a context where the purple was the surround, and it was really kind of it accentuated the purple in the painting. And then I loved that the texture, to me, almost had this element of bone veneer. So I knew that I wanted to kind of introduce somehow in the built-in element those two ideas. And in deciding purple, I was researching a lot of like backgrounds of paintings, and a lot of times when you go into museums, some of the more traditional paintings, like impressionist paintings, etc., you don't put them in a background of white because they end up kind of just falling flat. So they need a little oomph behind them for the painting to kind of read properly. So I kind of was inspired by that, and that's what kind of gave this background of purple. And then when I spoke to the team at New Style, I'm like, what if we do like a very high gloss, like almost like an auto finish on the built-in? And I gave them a couple of purple colors from literally a paint swatch, and they were able to do kind of custom colors to our specifications. And then I pulled some images of bone veneer, and then I sent that to them as well, and they created this arrange of bone veneer samples that they could fabricate. Some of them are with kind of in essence it's wood veneer that's made to look like bone, and some of them it's literally a paint technique. In the context of the other elements in the room, I kind of wanted to give this idea that this built-in is maybe in kind of a vestibule space, going from a living room into a dining room. So there's like a little seating area, there's storage, and the painting in context with sconces and a console and other elements, I feel like looks very rich and unique, and something that really kind of tells the story and also accentuates Angie's artwork. Margaret, do you want to maybe talk a little bit about
Yes, of course. Anytime that we encounter a project like this, which is quite unique, purple, well, custom made, we get excited. So with New Style, it's a little bit different. There is no library to choose from. We are being asked for that continuously. Do you have a library of colors? Do you have a library of styles of cabinetry that you can do? Yes, we do have extensive library of things that we did in past, but the projects that are not sourcing from our library are the most exciting ones. Like when we get inspiration images, when we get these, I'm gonna cite you, wacky colors, this is what just makes our life interesting. And I'm not saying every single project, because we do residential work, we treat it extremely personally. We usually have great connection with our customers, both designers, but sometimes we also have a pleasure to meet homeowners and learn their story. It's a process. And whenever we get, like we got from Filip, I want these colors. I want you to do something in woodworking world of finishes that's gonna resemble my idea. This is when we are like, oh my God, we wanna do it. We wanna see it being made, we wanna see it being installed, and then we wanna just hear that everyone is happy with the end result. That's what makes our day in general. The process itself, it's different. We are being asked a lot of times, like, so what is the process to make it happen? And it could be all sorts of things. Because it's custom, we also try to get to know our client or whatever their goals are. Sometimes we even invite them to our space to work on on the finishes themselves. So we have like full-on finishing room and also separate division of where we can mix custom colors while our clients are with us. So let's say if we wouldn't nail it at the first trial, we could invite Filip over and say, let's work with our finisher. Tell me you want it, I don't know, more pink, more violet undertones, more beige, more brush strokes, more diluted paint, what kind of top coat. There are so many combinations to get where we wanna be, that I always say the sky is the limit. So whenever we are being asked, can you do it? It's like, yes, give me a couple of days to figure out how. So that's the story usually behind all of these beautiful projects. And the first thing I said today when I walked in, I'm like, I would love to see it installed. That's just, that was my first thought. I would like to see it in real life. And what's also beautiful about it is that sometimes and I'm not saying it's worse or bad, sometimes we design these beautiful built-ins, and we always check like, okay, what's the artwork size? What's the sconces? We want to make sure everything fits perfectly. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, we're going to select artwork later. And I'm like, why? We could make it work so much nicer if we would, put everything together. But it's everyone's individual decision. But it's so exciting to actually see everything go together and know every single portion of the design, even if it, doesn't pertain to us, like sconces. We just want to make sure everything opens and works properly. But we're always, excited to see the end result. Mm-hmm. So I wish that we find someone that would want to have it installed in their lounge or living room.
It's already cooked and ready to go.
Yes, exactly.
Andrew, do you want to talk maybe a little bit about you have a really extensive custom capability. Mm-hmm. So if you're working with a client or a designer, sure, and they want a specific piece for a specific space or built-in, sure, how that process would work?
Sure. So art is expensive. We all know that. It's an investment. And based on my experience in advertising and in graphic design, I really want to make sure I understand what is the vision of the person who's going to own this piece, as well as the designer. So I think it's important to come together and be on the same page literally. So we talk about what the vision is, what the objective is, we get it all on paper, and I basically create 3 concepts based on all of that information that we gather, that hopefully one of them turns out to be something that speaks to the client. We talk about everything that probably you talk about with your clients when you're looking at what's the vision, what's the feeling, what's the emotion, what is the purpose of this piece? Is it a scent? Is it a focal point? Is it an anchor? Is it just going to be a decorative element that's going to mingle with all of the other components in the room? What textures are we dealing with? What fixtures? What metals? What other materials are we going to think about when we're putting this piece together? I also ask questions like, is there a common thread going in the house? All of these things I want to think about to make sure that we have a cohesive kind of idea. And before anything is actually made, I create the concept digitally. So I either use my phone, I have an app that's similar to Photoshop, I can do it with you while we're sitting, together, and then I can go and, finesse it in Photoshop or Illustrator, whatever I need to do, and we can get down to the actual, exact color that you might have here, or you might want to have a contrast. Let's say you've got different neutrals you want to work with. One is, the neutral wall that it's going to go on, it has some red tones in it, and you want to offset that with something that's more green. So I'm going to know to present you with a concept that has more of a green tone to it. We can work off of, color swatches, whatever you need. Present that. I give a copy of that. Usually I really try to get the actual size printed out. It's not that difficult. It's not that expensive. It's a great way to kind of visualize the piece and maybe live with it for a few days. And then once we get the sign off on that, I go ahead and I purchase the material and then get going on the actual artwork. And that usually takes about 3 weeks. So it maybe takes about 2 weeks to make the piece. Like a piece like this might take me like 2 weeks. And then depending on the medium, if it's acrylic, it'll dry faster. If it's oil, it'll take a little more time. And then it needs to cure. And then, I based on really the client and the designer, I will, check in and say, hey, this is the progress, or how's this looking? It might be like, oh, I want a little more blush in there, or I want some bigger strokes in there to kind of give a splash. So whatever it is, I like to work together, and it's actually just like you said, like it's so much more exciting and rewarding to collaborate and to create something that is truly unique and special to that person, and meaningful. I mean, we can put in personal things like a silhouette of your grandchildren or whatever it might be, but there are so many opportunities to make it really special and unique and meaningful to that person.
Yeah, I think in both cases, both your processes, and I think ours is very similar. It's like the key is to make the space, the artwork, or the cabinetry individual to the project and to the person. And we've worked with New Style for many years, and anything that we've ever thrown at them, they've always been able to create something really interesting, and because they have the capabilities to look outside the box, it's makes it a lot more pleasurable. And I mean, I remember one time Steve brought in like a charred piece of burnt wood, and he's like, what if the texture of the cabinetry is like that?
Oh, wow.
And you guys created something that looked like burnt black wood.
No way. That's amazing.
But that and then for the client to see that and to see us kind of have that idea, and then for the visualization when it all goes in, and it's really such a direct connection to that is really, really special. And I also think, Angie, with your process, like how wonderful if you are working with a client and they are making the investment in art, and there's the capability of creating something that's custom to that space, custom to your design, but then the artist is willing to really make it individual for them and to have a silhouette of their grandchildren, or a color that really speaks to them, or something that reminds them of a trip that they've taken. Like it all those layers make it so much more personal, and something that doesn't look like they got it from a catalog, or they just walked in and purchased something randomly.
Right, and when you add the digital, when you put it in a rendering, for example, somebody might say, oh my gosh, I love this, but I love Philip, I love how you put that green in there. And so maybe the person is really liking the green and wants some green in the art piece, and that's where I can come in and I can change it digitally first before I even go and make it. So then we can print it out and we can say, okay, did we like the green in there, or is that just too much green going on, right? So it's a really nice way to kind of first see visual.
They can live with it, and then make sure that the scale of the piece is right.
Right.
So many times when we install artwork, it's like the scale of a piece really makes a room, and if something's slightly underscaled, it just looks a little sad. So if you have the opportunity of seeing it fully printed, and how it reacts to the room, that's wonderful.
You might have. It might be in a kitchen, and you might have some veining that's really strong, and for some reason, that's taking focus, and then you have something that looks like veining in the painting, and you kind of need to soften that maybe, so that maybe the countertop needs to take more of a focus, whatever that might be. You want to look at the context and make adjustments as you need to before you actually commit to something that's really expensive. So.
Yes, but what I would also want to add is that we are asked many times, what's the typical way to do it?
Yeah.
And we're like, it's very individual. So as you were saying, like it's contact with the client, getting to know them, getting to know their goals. It's the same with cabinetry. Although it's, it's art of woodworking, we can say, but it's the same, like it has to be beautiful. Maybe in places like lounge or living room, it doesn't have to be extremely functional, but sometimes we get these clients that are super particular, and we want to make it look beautiful, but then also make it functional. So it's not about finishes only, but the proportions, like everything has to work beautifully together. Yeah. And also sometimes what we would do templates. So we could cut the layout of the cabinets and go to the job site and actually place it in the room like a raw unfinished template, so they can see how big the item
Oh, that's
is.
amazing.
Oh, that's
Sometimes we did it for kitchens, if they were like heavily ornate, all walls of cabinetry, we could use our CNC and actually show where the cabinets are gonna be in the room, so our clients can imagine like how is it gonna be put together. Sometimes that's a little bit nicer than seeing rendering, because you
It's
can
so
see
important
the.
to see it in person.
Yeah. Even if it's on the floor, if it's not 3D, you can still know like how you're gonna
what
be
your clearances
navigating,
are, yeah.
yes, through your space.
Well, it's also, I think, a benefit of working with a company like New Style is that because you guys are local, there's a much more direct connection with
Yes.
where the cabinets are being made. You can literally drive with the
Oh, yeah.
client to the factory and
Right.
see it
We
being
love that.
fabricated. And the clients then also like see the people actually making it, and
Yeah.
there's a little bit more of a connection with
Yeah,
that.
it's
Versus,
It's
it
being
literally
made
is
somewhere and no one knows
wherever,
where.
yeah, they don't know where it is, and they just kind of show up,
Yes,
14
yes.
to 16 weeks or whatever.
No, we are always happy. We love to host people at our space, and also what's nice, we love to educate about our process. Even if it's a homeowner, it's always good to understand like what you're getting, what kind of quality, what kind of process, why is it so intricate, why is it so detailed, and also what I think we always love to invite people over, even for quality check, because what we always do is we pre-assemble everything once it's done before it ships to the site for our own quality check. But if our clients are willing to stop by, we love to do that. We can set it up exactly as it's gonna be in the room, even do hardware placement in our shop. It's exciting to see the light in their eyes when they see it,
Yeah.
even if it's not installed. It's like, oh, it turned out so beautiful. And then everyone that's on the floor is so happy because they see our clients happy. So that's just
Right.
what makes our day.
It's just the ability to make the client feel like they're a part of the process.
Exactly.
Is so wonderful. That's so exciting. I mean, you would know you could go to check out some quartzite or quartz or whatever or marble for your kitchen, but to know that you can actually go and see the millwork
Oh, yeah.
is
Of course.
extra special.
Like if we would be doing, let's say, these center panels in painted finish, we could do a lot of samples like this, and even as you were doing before our presentation, try to set them up exactly as you want them
Oh, right.
to be installed. Or let's say sometimes if we're doing shard green or like wallpaper or leather center panels or veneer that's not regular but in custom layout, you can come in and work with our employees to actually place it exactly as you want. So that's always such a fun process. It's just super exciting and super rewarding at the same time.
It's amazing to see it in person. I mean, I saw the rendering and I thought that was really cool, but then to actually be able to feel and see the texture and the art,
Yeah.
the true artistry actually that your
Thank you.
your staff has, that's amazing. I mean, if you haven't taken a look at it, please do, because it's really,
It's not
I mean,
only
the
about.
strokes are really phenomenal. It's
Thank
really
you.
great work.
I'm gonna tell that to my
Yeah,
finisher.
I mean,
Then he got a
it's
really
really
big
impressive.
compliment.
No, it's really impressive.
Cool. Do you guys by chance have any questions, or we'd love to have a conversation.
Okay, I thought I was back question. So there are a variety of styles for clients, and if someone wants something very traditional, let's say, do you have a variety of shapes of trims or crown molding or casings, or do you fabricate this according to the architect or designer's shapes, or what can you tell me about your sort of trims?
Okay, so there is no right answer to that question because everything is totally 100% custom. So we can fabricate it based on architectural floor plans. We can fabricate it based on hand sketch. We can take actual piece of, sometimes like we do for historic renovations, take actual piece of wood and then just copy it perfectly. So it's all 100% custom. So it can be anything. Sometimes when we do projects with like Filip or other of our clients that are designers or architects, they can sketch it out for us and we will make it happen. We will provide like full-on mock-up samples so you can see if you like it. Sometimes what we do, especially for traditional projects that are heavy on millwork, we could install full-size mock-up in your house. So like a corner mock-up of the trim, or full-size panel, or wainscoting, whatever there is a need for.
And part two of my question, I'm sorry. So like designing in Chicago, like a wall unit or something, a lot of interiors are older and like one end of the room is 1 inch lower than the other.
Mhm.
So the ceilings are bumpy. It's an imperfect world. So how about the installation issues?
So depending on how imperfect it is, sometimes there is always some trim around it, like even if it's crown or crown riser, baseboard, toe kick, we have adjustable leveling legs, so there are ways to cheat for no one to know. But if it's really extreme situation, we usually consult our client. So if we would have floor off level, ceiling off level, and suddenly would want to achieve something very specific to the designer that has a lot of intricate details, we would show them like how off level it is and work with them to make it disappear.
Yeah, New Style is great. We've worked on multiple projects with them where the client had an existing kitchen or existing door profile that we really wanted to have match, and they literally take the door and they did a mock-up, and it was exact. You would never be able to tell that the elements that we added were not part of the original space. And I think to your second question, they're actually really great about, because they've done this so much, that some of like the little tricks of like maybe even having a little reveal line at the ceiling to kind of ease that issue of the floor being level. It's something that you would never think of, but it's actually such a nice detail, and it kind of helps kind of ease that transition.
I have a question actually for Andrew.
Yes.
So, commissioned art can be really tricky because the vision that the client has in their mind may not be the same. So I think it's really interesting that you do this a mock-up before you actually get to work. How close is the mock-up to what you actually produce? And do you have any issue with the client being like that? That wasn't quite like the mock-up.
It's a great question. I can get very close to the digital mock-up. I've never had a client say that doesn't look like the mock-up. But that can happen, right? I mean, it can happen. It's just like when you have a rendering. Can you make it exact? I really try to get as specific as I can, as specific as the direction of a brush stroke, if I have to, because I want to make sure I'm creating what is in that client's mind. I have just so many years of experience of having to deliver exactly what the client wants that I can create that. Especially if I'm working with oil paint, I can get really exact. If I'm working with acrylic, there might be some nuances with color that might be a little bit different, but I can always kind of fix them if I need to. The expectation needs to be set though. We're never going to be exactly the same. We might actually notice that while we're creating the piece that some other things need to take a back seat and some other things need to take focus, but I will never do that without consulting the client. I will always be like, okay, well, maybe I'll make an adjustment to the digital piece so that they can envision what that nuance might be. If you ever want to see like any, I have examples, like you can go on my website and just go to the About section and scroll down and you can see what the digital looks like versus what the actual looks like. I can get super close. I'm not going to do a Picasso. I'm not going to copy somebody's work. I can't get I don't want to do that, and I can't really get that specific anyway. But if it's a concept that I created, I can definitely create it, especially in oils. So, yeah, it's a good question though.
Sorry. Can you speak to the durability of these kind of finishes in the kitchen, just between the heat and you were saying wanted to do a custom hood, and how that holds up?
So durability of woodworking pieces not only comes from the finish, but from the substrates that you're using. So whatever use we are geared for, we kind of pick both substrates and then the finish. of course, I'm sometimes being asked, like, Margaret, please put super heavy, you know, scratch-proof top coat on the cabinets. There is no such a thing. Obviously, if it's wood and you treat it with metal, scratch it with metal or something that has more hardness than wood, it will scratch. So it's not bulletproof. But the finishing products themselves are top-of-the-line polyurethane finishing product, and whether it's paint or it's stained or it's like paint with these brush strokes, although you don't see it, it actually has like a natural top coat on top of it. So it's not changing the coloration of it, but it is protecting it. If I would be asked for advice, I would not recommend having this type of finish in your kitchen, obviously, because if you're heavily using your kitchen, if it scratches, if it gets damaged, it's just the repair, it's pain. Everything can be repaired, but it's a pain, and we always try to advise for our clients, like in the best manner. But then it also depends on the lifestyle. I have clients that have beautiful kitchens, and they don't cook. So they just want them to look beautiful.
Yeah.
And we can make them look like art piece
Yeah.
if they are not, you know, using them, to be honest, or using them periodically or to, you know, make coffee or breakfast, but are not heavily cooking. We have clients that are cooks or chefs, and then they have totally different approach. So durability of the product would be the same. It's just sometimes we try to gear them towards some different finishing choices or wood choices to make their life easier, because if you actually use the space, it will wear like everything in our life. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, and I was looking at this beautiful sound behind you.
And by the end of the project, what we also do, we have like a maintenance and care guide. So for all sorts of finishes that we are doing, whether it's stain, paint, butter blocks, whatever it might be needed for a specific client, we have a guide that we send out that explains how to take care of cabinets, because you use different types of cleaning products, or even like cloths. If you have high gloss, you have to like re-oil your butter blocks. There are so many things that has to be considered. So it's not one answer for all, because it is custom.
Cool.
Anyone else?
How about, so you are Chicago-made cabinetry?
Yes, we
And
are local.
the delivery times, like, better than if I should try some, I don't know, German cabinetry?
I would be really afraid to try anything from overseas at this moment, but
Yeah.
based on what's happening with transportation, not based on people overseas. I would say we're not offering like extreme short lead times or anything like that, and lead time is usually based on specifics of the project and the size of the job that we have to do. But I would say it's helpful to use local vendors, because anything might happen. Like if you get it shipped from overseas, and you might hire an installer and they cut it wrong to get a replacement piece,
Right.
weeks, and then you might not be able to finish your project. With us, even if it's other trades or us making a mistake, it's usually a couple days turnaround time, or even next day, depending how difficult it is, and it keeps the process going, moving forward.
One more thing, is that if you compare apples with apples, container right now to come from Germany is about 25,000. There are some people that buy $25,000 worth of cabinets. So if you compare apples with apples, the German product is going to be way more expensive.
It
than
might be,
American.
yeah. And there is no way to control it. We don't know where it's being made,
Yeah.
so yes.
And when it's going to come, it's
Yep. If for
Right.
small things, you can risk, like, you know, we actually were buying a ladder from like Germany or somewhere last month, and I was notified it was supposed to arrive in September, and I was notified that it's gonna be December or January. So they actually had to take it off the shipping container and air fry it, because otherwise it wouldn't come in here for months. So small things, you could kind of risk it. I don't know if I would be brave enough to order cabinetry from overseas at this moment, yeah.
You're doing some Florida work, right? Do you have any production in Florida, or it all happens here and then it
No,
goes?
our manufacturing is happening in Chicago. We do have like a small shop set up just to service Florida. If we're installing there, if there's anything that happens, you know, you might need to spray something, you might need to cut something, you might need to store something for the
Right.
client because suddenly the floor is not ready or whatever, but the manufacturing happens solely
here.
in Chicago, yes. We want to be able to control it.
Right.
And it takes good people to do that.
Right.
And unfortunately, it's hard to find good people. So we
No.
decided to keep our
it
manufacturing,
centralized.
yes, in Chicago.
You probably have a lot of Midwesterners in Florida anyway, the snowbirds going down, I mean, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah, a lot of our
You know,
clients, we
probably
actually
they would prefer to have it here.
worked for in Chicago and then started working in Florida, or the other way around. We met them in Florida and they're like, oh, I have an apartment in Chicago. I'm
Oh.
like, awesome, you know, when are you gonna visit us? So yeah, that's,
Yeah.
the world is so small.
It is.
It is, it is.
Cool.
Anyone else?
Thanks, everyone.
All
Thank
right.
you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank
Yes.
you.